Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Amin, and today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. Everyone is using LUTs. If you're making videos, even for photos, you're probably using LUTs to color grade your footage. A lot of people don't use LUTs in the right way. There's better ways to use LUTs. What most people do, and I get this, I really do get this is why I'm making this video. What most people do is that they just use LUTs as kind of like a filter for your image and then export the movie. For me, the best way to use LUTs are supposed to be like the base kind of color grade of your footage. From my experience, from my videos, I use LUTs sometimes to just get a base grade of what I'm trying to go for, and then make my own color grade on top of that just to tweak it. Especially if I'm doing something with a fast turnaround and a fast or a tight deadline, then I'll do that. Sometimes I even create my own LUTs from scratch and color grade from scratch on bigger projects. So today I just want to show you my workflow, how I do things. I'm using Premiere Pro, but this is kind of similar in other editing softwares. I just want to show you what I do, and even show you how to create your own LUTs if that's what you want to do. If you want to take your color grading to a step further and want to recreate your own LUTs, I'm going to show you how you can actually export your own LUTs to have yourself for future projects that are 100% yours and no one else's, and 100% unique. So that's the main thing about color grading, is making your footage your style, not copying someone else's. When you use a LUT and you just apply that LUT to your footage, you're copying someone else's style. You're not creating your own style. And to be a filmmaker, to be a video creator, a photographer, to be successful, you need to have your own style. So I think this is very important for you guys. If you're someone that doesn't know how to use LUTs, never use LUTs, doesn't know how to create your own LUT, or just you put a LUT into your footage or photos and just leave them, watch this little tutorial. This will be a great value for you. I really hope so. This is why I'm making this tutorial. And to say thank you for watching this video, I'm going to give you my very own LUT pack, cinematic LUTs for you guys to use. Hopefully you tweak them into your own style, hence this video. I've never said the word LUT so many times in my entire life. Okay, now we're down into the timeline, into Premiere Pro. If you've not used Premiere Pro before, if you're familiar with any kind of editing software, Avid, Final Cut, or anything like that, I've used most of them. They're all very similar in most ways, especially basic editing. So if you have another software, don't worry. I'm sure it will work in a very similar way. You just have to try and figure it out. But I use Premiere Pro for most things I do. Final Cut Pro X some of the time, but 90% of my projects, even for clients, is done in Premiere Pro. So this is just something I recently shot, a low-budget commercial for a new app that's coming out. And this is just one scene that I've just plucked out of the whole film, which is just one of the characters, one of the actresses just standing in the middle of the street, receiving text messages and a conversation about going on holiday somewhere. So it's a nice little simple scene. And as you can see, it's being color graded. I have layers here. So we have the actual film at the bottom here on video track 1. Let's just pull this down because there's no audio. Here we go. So we have the film. Then on top of that film, I have the because I shot this film on Lumix GH5. And it was done in a flat profile. So as you can see here, if I get rid of these, this is what the film looked like when it came straight out the camera. This is a very bland, it doesn't even look anything special. So I shoot everything on a flat color profile so I can get the best dynamic range as I can. And then what I usually do is add a Rec 709 LUT on top of that. So it's just like making it's just a standard LUT that's been issued by Panasonic, by Panasonic themselves, which just makes the flat profile look like a normal camera, a normal video. Nothing special still. And then what I do is I add some color correction, and then I do a color grade. The color correction stage is just basically correcting the exposure and stuff like that. And the color grade is going in a bit more detail with changing the color, tweaking the color in a creative way. So if you guys don't know what these are adjustment layers. These three layers here, they're all adjustment layers. I see a lot of people, especially in Premiere Pro, actually color grade or do any sort of corrections on their video layer. I don't, I would not recommend it. It is, because if you make changes to your video layer, you're kind of baking them in and making them permanent, because it's very hard to figure out what changes you've made, how to undo those changes if they're all in one layer and in the video layer itself. So when you're going on with the actual cuts later on in the process, you might think, I might want to make a change or so on. Especially if you're doing work for clients or someone else and you're in your team, someone might not like it, might ask you to change it. You need to be flexible as possible. So as you can see here, I literally make as many adjustment layers as possible. I could have easily added all of this into one adjustment layer, but I want to know each stage of the process. So each adjustment layer is a stage of the color grade. As you can see, the Rec 709 is just making things look normal again from the flat grade. Then I do the color correction, which is just tweaks to make it look okay, and then I do a color grade, which is the creative process itself. And if you don't know how to make an adjustment layer, you just, in your bin over here, you literally just click new item, adjustment layer, and then make it whatever video settings, whatever dimensions you're shooting in. I shot this in 4K, but I down-resed it or downsized it to 1080p. It looks like a better, crisper HD footage, and the client was happy with the HD final output. So, especially if you're doing work for someone else, always ask them what kind of resolution they want. They might want 4K, they might want 1080p, they might want 5 or 6K. It depends who you're doing the work for. So just keep that in mind. That's a little side note there. But to how I grade the footage. When we go to the color tab, as you can see, I don't do anything to the video layer. The video layer stays the way it is. I don't touch the color settings in that at all. So in the Rec 709, I literally just added the Vlog the LUT to that to make it look like a normal standard video from a normal, like you shot on just any camera. And then the color correction is just some basic tweaks just to make the exposure correct. Now I'm just going to go through that again, because sometimes I also do that in the color grade. And this layer, actually I haven't actually got anything on there. Actually, I've done all of the stuff in the color correction for this, and I'm going to show you here what I do in the color grade, just to go over some of the steps. So what I usually do is I would add, sometimes, like I said before, I would add a LUT or something to my footage and then make some changes. So I sometimes would add a LUT to this. I think I might have added one LUT to this one, but into the other layer, but with the color grade layer, I would have added a LUT. I'm not going to add another LUT to it. And then what I usually would do is, first of all, if I'm still, for me, some of you guys might know, I'm a perfectionist. I look at everything and I try to make it as perfect as possible. I could spend days and days and days on a particular grade of a film, which is not always the best thing, to be honest. But I would go through the color correction tools again. I would possibly tweak the exposure again if I think it needs a bit more tweaking. The contrast, I like a high contrast shot. I don't know if you see a lot of what I do. It's I crush the blacks and and make the whites go up. So contrast, I make sure, okay, is it too contrasty? Is it not contrasty enough? Then I'll change that. Highlights, I do the same. The highlights, shadows, whites and blacks is all, for me, it's all part of creating a high contrasted look. That is what I go for. Some of you guys might not like a high contrasted look, but that is your style. Your style is what you like, really. Anyone else's style is what they like. If you like their style, then that's good for them. If you like my style, then I'm happy, I'm grateful. If you don't like my style, that's fine. Everyone has their own style, everyone is unique, and especially when it comes to creative stuff and creating your own content, you need to have your own style. So, and especially in the color grade, color grading is a great way to show off your your style. So this is where I kind of just make a very high contrast look. And then as we go down, we have the creative tab here. So I don't have any plugins for Premiere Pro. I'm happy using their own plugins. Sometimes I actually use DaVinci Resolve if I'm doing things from scratch on a very high budget film or a high budget project. But most I can't even talk today. I can't even get my words out. Most lower budget stuff, I'm happy. Premiere Pro has a great color grading system. What I've seen a lot is a lot of people like to use a faded film look. I've seen this early on in Jon Olsen's YouTube videos. They kind of had a faded film look. I don't see that as often. I think that was Marcus Valor that was kind of going for that look. I'm not too sure. But this is, I believe they edited in Premiere Pro too, and this is kind of the way to do it. You kind of use this tab to kind of make it look more faded. As you can see here, I had it at 0 because for me, I like a faded film look, but for me it kind of, when I've done all the work with the contrasting, it kind of contrast, that's not even a word, well, I don't even know what the word is, makes the contrast not as contrasty anyway. I don't know if you're still understanding anything I'm saying today, blah blah blah. Hard to get any words out. I need coffee, I need water. One rule of thumb I have with sharp images, and this is probably just a general rule of thumb, it's not my rule of thumb, it's just a general rule, especially with like portrait shots like this of this movie. This is all just a lady standing there texting or receiving text. I don't like these images to be sharp. I like landscapes and everything else to be sharp, but when you've got pictures of faces, people in close up, you kind of want a bit of a blurry kind of look. Not too blurry, not so it looks, people ask you if you actually focused your film, but you kind of want it to be a bit soft around the face to get the best kind of look. So sometimes I use sharpness to whack it up to a certain extent, but for this I would not have added sharpness. I would have kind of gone a bit the other way with it to make it a bit more softer. The other main two things I use is the curves. I use this a lot to make I always start with an S curve, so it makes your film have a bit more depth to the image. As you can see, it's kind of not working here right now because I've already color graded this. But this, I kind of always start with a small S curve and make loads of adjustments to the curves. If you've not used curves before, it can be very frustrating to get a hang of it and to learn how it works. But I promise you, if you take some time to learn curves, it can be a huge asset to your color grading tools. Trust me, it is a great, I do a lot of work in the curves to create some unique looks to my footage. And then the color wheels are great for, as you can see, there's 3 color wheels: midtone, shadows, and highlights. And each color wheel kind of affects each part. So if you want to affect somewhere in the highlights, then you can use the highlight color wheel. If you just want to affect some of the shadows, then the shadows, and the midtones, the mid-range. So self-explanatory. These are really all I use for my stuff, and you don't have to have a huge color mixing desk. These are really expensive tools or anything like that. You just need some basic stuff. You can make a huge difference with basic color correction. So that is kind of what I go through. I don't just add LUTs to my footage and leave it. I know this turned out to be quite a long video, but that's the main point. I see a lot of people use a LUT and leave it. Actually, what I do with LUTs, I put a LUT in. I never have a LUT at 100%. I always have LUTs around 20%, 30%, barely even higher than 40%. I always have LUTs, when I have LUTs in, I have them down, change the opacity down, just to get a soft touch, and then I make my own adjustments to the film. Apart from the Rec 709 LUT from Panasonic, that I keep at 100% because that just, it kind of like normalizes your footage, makes it look normal again. That's all it does. It's not color grading, it's just normalizing your footage. And then with all the LUTs I use, they're very tiny, just makes a tiny difference. And all the bigger changes, I do, because I want to make my stuff my own way and my style. So this is kind of what I'm getting at with using LUTs. You could easily go through loads of LUTs, have them 100% and think, wow, that actually looks really awful. Because a lot of LUTs at 100% actually do look quite bad. They're very strong. They're not made to be used at 100%. So just dial them down to try 50%, try 75% if you really want to just use them. Dial it down even further to 10, 20, 30% and then make tweaks yourself. That is when you get a great, unique look for your footage. And that is what I do every time in my stuff. And I just want to show you quickly, as I promised earlier, if you've kind of made your own look, a unique look that you love and you want to use over and over again. I have some of my own LUTs that I love. If I want to have the same look, I just export loads of LUTs that I've used and call them something that I've used them for. I'm like, okay, I want to use the same color profile that I use in this film, so I find that LUT and put it in. If you want to increase your speed of your color grading by having your own LUTs from your previous projects that you've done, this is how you do it. So in the color lumetri panel here on the right hand side, all you have to do is to export your LUT. It's just to click the 3 lines here, export.look. And then you export it in the whatever way, wherever you want to export it. You put it anywhere you'd like, and then you just add that in as a LUT. I'll show you here. I've not showed you how to do that. So to input your own LUTs, if you don't know, you just click here, input LUTs, none, browse, find it on your computer, and then it goes in. It's simple as that. It's very straightforward. What I do in my film is not. I'm not a colorist. It's not. It's not hard to really make a huge difference to your footage. So I really hope that you guys have learned something off of this video. I know it's quite long now. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Please let me know if you learned something, and please let me know what your workflow is for your color grading, because I really love listening to other people's way of working. Please let me know below in the comments your color grading workflow. If you have any LUTs, share with me kind of your style and what you like, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to put links below to 7 cinematic LUTs that I've made. I'm not even going to charge anything for these. These are free for you guys to use. These are 7 cinematic LUTs for you guys to use, and please don't just use them. Please use them as part of making your own kind of style. So if you guys use these LUTs, download these LUTs for free. If you use them and create your own style, please let me know. Show me some images of what you've created. I really appreciate that, guys. But until next time, have a great day. I need to work on my outros. I need to work on that.